Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We're having a fun time with it. And we have Laura Lazechko here, our third person to be on the podcast. And we appreciate you joining very much. Again, the purpose of this podcast is to have a little bit of fun, to hopefully share some impactful and enjoyable stories that we have as parents or family members of somebody who's got a developmental disability or other kinds of special needs. Maybe learn a little bit from each other and just kind of, like I said, share and know we're all in this together a little bit. So I appreciate your time today. And if you want to just give a quick introduction about yourself and your family, your kids, and let everyone know who you are, it'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. My husband, Tad, and I have been married for 15 years. We have 4 beautiful children. When our third came along, though, she was born with a rare genetic syndrome. This geneticist didn't really know what to tell us about her. She was obviously a massive curveball. We didn't anticipate that or expect it, but here she was. And so she has been a joy to care for, but also just a radical life shift. We went ahead and had a 4th kid that we always wanted, and I'm so thankful that we finished our family. And we have a lot of fun now, but it looks way different than I thought it would when I dreamt of my family early on.
I think that is often the biggest shift, and some families get there quickly, some take a little bit later. That life is unique, it's different, it's challenging in all kinds of ways. But the biggest word is really it's different than what we often expected.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing. I've got, as people I think know at this point, 3 children, and my middle daughter has Down syndrome. And again, there was some conversation: do we have another child or not? And we ended up with Annie, and it was just great to have that balance somehow. I don't know if restored is the right way, and it worked for us, and I know it wouldn't work for every family. But yeah, that story is similar for our family too. So, well, again, we're trying to keep this pointed, not pointed necessarily, but kind of just move along here. But I'm sure I'll have more things to say as we go and ask you a few out of the box questions. But let's just jump into the questions we do have. So tell us something that was a win with your family member or for you this week, something that just either unexpected or great, or maybe it was expected and it was just great.
Sure. I'm going to back it up further than a week ago. In the last month, we've had 2 really fun things that our family has gotten to participate in. We live in Colorado, and so skiing is a big part of our family. And when Lainey was born and they told us that she would never walk, I thought, oh, shoot, there's a lot that I wanted to do that involved people being able to move their bodies. But we have been able to participate for a couple of years in the adaptive ski programs that are offered at many of the big resorts here in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And just last summer, we were able to procure our own adaptive sit ski, which is essentially like a sled on skis. And I was Lainey's ski instructor this year. So it was so fun to fly down the mountain with all of my kids and not need a program that, you have to be there at a certain time and follow all the rules. Mm-hmm. And I'm so appreciative of the program, but it also was a little bit restrictive for our family with the other kids and just, wanting to go and be free as a family. So getting our hands on our own sit ski and going skiing as a family was a huge win that we had a great time with in February.
And you sent me a video clip. Now I think would be a good time to show that.
Yeah.
So we're always doing a little bit of something new, but let me pop this up here and let's play that video.
Yeah, so this is Lainey and I. We're flying down the mountain. Her siblings are all kind of tucked in the trees going through, off some of those ramps like they like to do. Mm-hmm. My husband is videoing, but we were having a good time.
When I was watching this earlier, it was just so relaxing to watch. I don't know if it was that way when you were skiing with her or not, but just watching it was like, it's part of the reason we love Colorado so much. Blue sky against the beautiful trees. And it just looked like it was so relaxing. I don't know, again, if that was your experience, but
it mostly was. We had a couple hiccups, but for the most part, my heart was so buoyed after that weekend.
And one of the things I love to add on in the world today is the world is so much, the ski areas especially, but so many other places have made it so much easier. I was skiing last weekend and somebody who was on his own sled under his own power got on the lift just behind me too. And it was barely an extra few seconds at most for them to get all the equipment up and everybody running. And we saw them a couple of different times during the day, just having a great time out there. So I know it's not perfect yet, but the world's gotten so much better about incorporating, and skis and tools and things like that are available for all of us. So thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know we have a couple other pictures, but we'll probably just tack those on at the end when you're at the beach, and that big giant wheel thing looked like
sure.
fun. It's just so going down a different avenue. So by the way, great. I know it didn't have to be last week, but just heartfelt story about doing something exciting with your entire family and incorporating getting Lainey into it. Okay, we had a little glitch there in the matrix, so we're coming back. We're going to start that question again. And the question was there one person, book, class, or something else that helped you either when your child was born or even most recently? Just what's a tool that somebody else might want to know about?
Yeah, one of the most helpful books that I have read is called Not What I Expected. The subtitle is Help and Hope for Parents of Atypical Children. And it's by a woman named Rita Eichenstein. She's a PhD in neuroscience. And so she delivers a lot of diagnoses to families and has just written about her experience in the struggles within a marriage, within a family, with sibling dynamics. And I just found it so validating, and it put language to a lot of things that were certainly rattling around in my brain, but I couldn't quite explain to most people. So it felt so good to finally read something that explained a lot of what I felt.
Oh, no, it's so great. And that's why we're asking these questions from time to time. We had our doctor told the Joseph Campbell story about the path we were on was going to be different than the path we thought we were going to be on. And that by itself was very helpful. Yeah. But then it was like we went into the wild without the tools that we necessarily needed. So any chance we can get them is just amazing. So I'm glad you found something and we're able to share that along the way. How about, and this fits right in with the next question, is what would you tell a new parent about your experience to help them live a great life? And before you answer, I'll give you a little second to think about it. Okay. I've met so many families who've gotten off on the path that's been very helpful for them. And I've met so many families who were told things that were not helpful for them. And then it often took them days, months, or years sometimes to get over that initial piece of advice. But so whenever we take advice, we have to remember it's not always perfect for us and we need to find out more. But really, what would be some of the advice that you would offer somebody?
Yeah. I had an older woman from our church say some things that were so profound to me. But the biggest one was just to give me permission to be really, really sad. It's not like a reflection of how I feel about my child. In fact, it's maybe an argument for the other side. It's evidence of my love for her that her life is going to look so different. But I think that's what I would say is just give yourself permission to grieve. And it's probably not going to be a one and done thing. It will kind of be a lifetime of things that come up that you maybe couldn't have thought through, that kind of hit you afresh. And it's okay. It's okay to be so sad about it, but don't get stuck there, because it really, it's a life of both unfathomable sorrow and such sweet joy raising a kiddo like this. So it's both and at the same time. It
is. And I know so often it sounds like an odd piece of advice to give yourself permission to grieve. And yet it's somehow what needs to happen to be able to embrace everything else that's coming. Yep. And there are moments of great joy, and there are, like I said, moments of great sadness or sorrow. And sometimes I'm all wrapped up in how bad it's going to be, and all of a sudden I get surprised in all how good it's going to be. So, but I do feel without that moment of allowing that to come through, it's hard to really embrace everything else. So it just seems to be what's out there. No, thank you for that. All right, and we got the final question here. And the final question is, if money were no object, what would you change for your family or for yourself?
Oh, man.
I know and I'll give you a second because it's a total surprise question, but it's one that just gets my gears going whenever I think about it or ask it. And in my financial planning practice, we're asking it more and more and getting some great answers. So
sure.
And again, it doesn't have to be one thing, but like, what would be a couple of things that you would be able to just jump in on?
Man, technology has come so far. I can't imagine doing this, 200 years ago. It would have been really, really hard. But if I could do anything, I would clone myself so that there was more of me to go around to meet all the needs in my family without making me pick and choose who got mom.
Oh, I like that. That has never once come up before. That's why we ask the question. There's always something new. And clone myself. I know, I just or like a little Rob robot, which wouldn't handle the family stuff, but just to do some of the stuff that I don't want to do would be good too. But clone yourself. Oh, I love that. So there's more mom to go around, so you can do everything with your family all at the same time. Yeah, great. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I greatly appreciate you. Again, I know you outside of the Zoom world as well, so we've had a chance to get to know each other. It's just been a pleasure meeting you and your family. And before we go, I'll just pop up one or two more of the pictures that you sent over. Except I closed them behind the screen, so it's going to take me an extra second here to find them again. But you can give kind of another 1-minute recap of what these pictures are once they actually get them, or just one of them is the one I can find easily. Let me get back. Zoom here. And we've been all using this technology for so long, but as I said, there's always something new that I'm doing with it. In this case, sharing on the fly. So what's going on in this picture?
There it is. We went to Florida over spring break, and we discovered that a lot of the beach-based state parks in Florida have sand wheelchairs, which is what you see in the picture here with the big bubble tires. And they're available for public use. You just have to go find a park ranger and they'll unlock the closet that it's in. And the tires are like slightly deflated inner tubes, so they push very easily over the soft sand and in the surf, as you see here. My son is 12, and he immediately assumed ownership of the thing and pushed Lainey for miles on the beach. He pretended he was a monster truck driver. And so I got to walk on the beach and hold hands with my husband, which is obviously not usually the thing when we're with the whole family. So it was so fun to be able to really kind of get away from the crowds and, pretend like we all had legs that worked. We figured out a way to make it happen. So this is a really fun win for our family too, to discover that was available to us. Yeah, great. No, appreciate it. I know spring is coming here finally, and you were probably there when it was still snowing. But it's just so nice to see the water when we live in Colorado. Yes. And again, more importantly, to see the adaptability of the world around us and the inclusion that's now available. So, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure I will be seeing you soon. Sounds good. Thanks, Rob. Okay, thanks. Bye.